So for my next video, I'm going to go over who you should attack, when you should attack, and when and how to defend. So I like to pick out targets that are a few levels lower than me so that I know they have limited gold to defend. Basically, there's no way they're going to be able to completely wall me off. They might be able to partially wall me off, but usually that's not worth it for them unless they have Salvager on. And also, I won't take a total loss. They might wall up to say level 103 when it would take level 108 to wipe me out, and I would lose maybe half my troops. So it's not bad. I would still get a fair amount of experience for that, although not ideal. So furthermore, you should consider what other high level cities they have on the map. For example, if people were to look at my cities closely, they would notice that I just leveled the city to 107. I did so because I had to spend all my gold to protect a waypoint. So I had 3 billion troops that were marching to that location, and player Grudge had beat me to it with an attack. So I had no choice but to defend, and luckily for me, it was just enough to hold the city. So basically, when you see something like that, a level 107 city on the map, relatively early in the game with a couple weeks left, you know that player doesn't have much gold left to defend. So I would be a good target to attack. I typically don't defend anyway unless I have Salvager on. So another thing to notice is if they have all of their army attacking one part of the map, you can go and attack them on another part of the map. The one thing to watch out for is attacking near their castle. They could just level and defend with troops. Although I don't recommend defending with troops, it's rarely ever worth it unless you have an overwhelming number of troops. Like for example, if they're attacking with 100 million and you have 2 billion, then sure, it's worth it, but it's relatively cheap just to defend by walling. If they're attacking with 1 billion troops and you have 2 billion troops defending, you're still going to lose a lot of troops unless you respect skills. It's probably not worth the loss. If you do the math, and again, it's all about experience earned per troop loss, you're probably going to end up earning 10 or at most 20 experience per troop loss, which is not a good deal unless with some limited exceptions. Like if it's someone that you really want to take out their army, maybe towards the end of the season, where if you take out their army, you're going to have control of that part of the map, it might be worth it. But generally, it's not worth it. But that doesn't mean that other players might not do it to you. So you have to be prepared for it, and that's why I avoid attacking near people's castles. So when should you defend? Basically, I defend only when I have a waypoint under attack with a lot of troops heading there, and I save my gold in order to do so. For example, yesterday, I had the 3 billion troops moving to a level 100 city, which I assumed was relatively safe, and if it wasn't safe, I would at least have enough buffer cities in the 90s where it would take them long enough to get there, and I could level those up a little bit to say 95 or 100 to slow them down so they wouldn't have enough troops left to hit the 100. But this player Grudge, he went straight for the level 100 city, surprisingly, so it left me no choice but to spend 9 billion gold defending it. So like I said, luckily I won that fight as a level 107, but I would have rather kept the gold and spread it around with Salvager on. So I did switch Salvager on since I spent so much gold. I got 4 billion back. So now I have 4 billion to work with Salvager on. So that's the time where I mainly defend, is when I have Salvager on. So the best time to put Salvager on is obviously when people are going to attack. So I like to do it right when the clan quest starts, Friday night. That still leaves me plenty of time to do the clan quest myself Sunday, and right before it ends, and maximize my power in order to get more soldiers as a reward. So basically, there's the most attacks going on Friday night. That's when everyone's trying to complete the clan quest, and everybody will be attacking, and so that's the best time to have Salvager on. So I try to spend most of my gold on Salvager, keeping some for emergencies. And basically, if you defend properly with Salvager, you should never run out of gold because you don't have to overdo it. Sometimes you're not intending to win. You're just intending to inflict some casualties. That way, the defense pays for itself. For example, if you would need to wall a city to level 100 to defeat their army, and instead you just wall it to level 95, that might be an even better result, because not only do you lose the city and get a lot of the gold back, you're still gaining a lot of experience. And by going to 100, you're going to hold on to that city. Sometimes if you level a city too high, then basically that becomes your outpost. You don't want too many of those, because those cities aren't going to change hands as often. So if you end up with a lot of those, your kingdom points become high and you run out of people to attack. So I like to have one high level city in each area, and I'll use that one as my waypoint basically. The rest I try to keep as low as possible. I don't level my castle at all. I leave it at level 1. So I'm one of those players. You can kind of tell people's style by whether they level their castle or not. If they have a level 1 castle, they're an attacking player like me. If they level their castle, then they're trying to take as many cities as possible. So those are the two main styles of play. So the attacking style of play that I use, and if you have, that's a more active style of play. Now the defensive player style of play is probably more popular among top players. So they go for as many cities as possible. So usually they have several hundred cities, and they try to take the smallest cities possible, the ones that are going to be uncontested, either at night when people are sleeping, or from players that are inactive that have turned gray after 5 days, and then they just try to hold on to those. They can level those and stay on Salvager for as long as possible. So both of those styles of play are effective, but the Salvager style of play requires good items, because if you don't have good items, you're going to run out of gold eventually. So that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for the next video.